Okay, hi guys. Hi Instagram people. Welcome today for another session. And today's session is about learning to code. So I'm Audrey. I'm the CEO of Next Academy, and definitely, happy to have you guys here. And Next Academy has been the first tech school for in Malaysia, right? And we have trained more than 1,000 people in learning to code. And really, a lot of all these people started with zero coding knowledge. Started from very different backgrounds, right? I'm talking about different backgrounds, such as some people are like from law, from medicine. Some people are high school students. Some people were waiters before that, Uber drivers as well, and today they are pursuing a career in coding. So definitely very excited to have all of you guys here, and later on to share a lot of stories that I've seen, our students are doing as well. So let's get started and let's just check out, some of the questions that people have here. Okay, so the first question is by Corazon KL. And Corazon KL asks, I know nothing about coding. Where can I start with Next Academy? So it's okay to know nothing about coding. And in fact, what I do encourage you is that if you know nothing about coding, go and try things out, right? Be it you just Google it and give some of the really simple tutorials a try. And one of the reasons why I say that is because if you don't know anything, at least you know what it is about. But for Next Academy, I think about 80% of the people started with zero coding knowledge. And even if you have, so little coding knowledge, it is fine to come through Next Academy. But the most important thing is that, 2 weeks, I mean, the time they're going to spend with us, if you're only doing front end, it's 2 weeks. Or if you're doing the full stack, means you want to build an app, it's 10 weeks. It's a very, very short time, right? Compared to a 2-year degree or a 3-year degree. And so when you are here, what we want is that you need to put in the effort and you need to put in the commitment when you're here. And we will help you. We have the mentors, we have the curriculum to help you get there. But on your end, we want you to be able to put in the effort and put in the commitment so that we can get to the goal together. So I think that is the most important thing. So for Corazon, if you're not so sure about if you like coding or not yet, I would say, give us a call. We would definitely, tell you about how to go about it. But I would suggest you to start off with the front-end web development, which is, if you're doing full-time, it's 2 weeks full-time, or if you're doing part-time, it's 10 weeks part-time, and you come in every Saturday. I think that is a great place to start because number one, it's definitely very beginner friendly over there. And number two, you get to try out things, right? You get to try and build websites. And number three, you get to write algorithms and you would find out if coding is something that you want to pursue for life. So definitely, give us a call and we will tell you what you can do. So for the next question, this question is by, very interesting question. This question is by Fartiban Kumar Hassan. And he or she asked, how to learn a difficult programming language like C++. I love this question, right? Because, for you, if you're starting to learn how to code and you ask people, hey, what language should I learn? What should I learn first and what should I learn next? I'll tell you, everyone would have very, very different opinions. People will go like, you should learn this language because this is the most popular one. You should learn that language because, everyone's using it today and so on and so forth. I want you guys to actually have a different point of view, right? And what is the point of view, you may ask, is this. When it comes to learning to code, there is two parts to it. Number one is obviously knowing the language, right? And number two is computational thinking and problem solving skills. These two need to come in hand for you to be good at coding. So the biggest problem that I find is that everyone is so fixated with the language, but the one that distinguishes you, if you are a good coder or not, is based on problem solving skills, and computational thinking. And that is where a lot of people fall. It's very easy to learn a language. Honestly speaking, yes, you can memorize things. It's very easy to learn that language. But how do you put those language together and make it work for you? That is problem solving and computational thinking skills. And this is the one that you really need to hone, because this is the one that a lot of people are lacking. So what I'll say is this: when you say how to learn a difficult programming language like C++, for you to be asking this question, I have this feeling that you are probably very new to coding. So what I would say is to start off with a simpler language. For example, Python is considered a pretty simple language, right? There is Python, there's JavaScript, there's Ruby. These are considered simpler, high-level languages. You want to use this time you want to be able to solve, you want to be able to get past the language and get straight into computational thinking and problem solving skills. You want to build that first. This is very, very important, because when you are good with this, it's very easy for you to change languages. In fact, if you ask someone who is 1 or 2 years in, when they already started coding, to them changing languages is very normal. They are like, oh, well, my project requires me to learn C++, so I needed to do it, and they will do it. But the key thing is that if you're weak at your problem solving and computational thinking skills, then no matter what no matter what language it's going to be useless. So always keep this in mind. If you want to, learn how to, if you want to learn how to program, it's all about building computational thinking and problem solving skills. Language, yes, it's important because you need to express yourself with it. But what is more important is that language skills is transferable. In the future, you're not going to stick with one language for the rest of your life. In coding, you'd be forced to, jump multiple languages. So keep that in mind. Okay, so there is let me just take this off. Okay, so Fauzan Ghazi asked a very interesting question. I really like this as well. So one key thing is about coding is that coding these days is so, I would say, it's cross-industry. You don't need coding. It's not like, I just learned to code and then I don't need, nowadays you are talking about, hey, if I'm a digital marketer, do I need to code? You need to know how to code, believe it or not, right? So what he's asking here, Fauzan is asking here is this: as a digital marketer, what level or language is needed for a career when it comes to coding? So when it comes to digital marketing, the few things that you must absolutely know is HTML and CSS. No, CSS not necessary, but HTML is very, very important, right? So what is HTML? Basically, so if you come through our front-end web development bootcamp, the HTML, CSS, JavaScript one, that is coding fundamentals. And basically what it will tell you is that every website, every web pages you see, it actually starts off with HTML. Now you go into the website and it looks really pretty. So always remember this: HTML is your content, right? And then CSS is what makes it beautiful. Okay, and finally, we have something called JavaScript as well. And JavaScript is what makes it, how do I say it? JavaScript is what gives personality to your website. So if you think of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript as a person, like Audrey, as me, my bone structure would be, my HTML. The way I look, the hair color and everything, that would be CSS. And JavaScript will be kind of like my personality, like if I were to do something embarrassing, my face would turn red. So that's kind of like JavaScript. So for a digital marketer, what you really need to know is HTML. Semantic text is something that you definitely need to know. CSS is not necessary. JavaScript, for JavaScript, I think you don't exactly need to know JavaScript, right? But you need to understand the implications of, JavaScript. For example, if your website is JavaScript heavy, right, it can potentially slow down the website. And because your website becomes slow, then Google won't like it because Google doesn't like websites that slow, right? So that's just one example. So you don't really, and Fauzan asked, is it necessary to learn jQuery, Node.js, Bootstrap? As a digital marketer, no, you don't need to know all those things. But knowing JavaScript and at least knowing some level of code helps you understand how websites are being tracked. What are cookies? Why when I go to why let's just say I go to Amazon, I go to Lazada, and then later on I browse Facebook, then Lazada's ads will be following me everywhere. If you know JavaScript, that would actually help you understand those things, help you understand how you are being tracked. All right. So so the next person is Chui Ying. Chui Ying asks, what's the usual entry salary for bootcamp graduates in Malaysia without an IT related degree? Okay, one key thing is this. It ranges really, really hugely. I've heard of mid 2.5 all the way up to high fours. It is a very, very big range. And one key thing I would say, right, so far the ones who are able to ask for a really high salary at even at a very junior level, I notice they are really the hardest workers in the boot camp, right? They are the hardest worker in the boot camp, and they really, by the time when they graduate. So one key thing is this, right? I've seen people asking for 2.5 all the way up to high fours. I've seen occasions of people asking for higher as well, quite rarely sometimes. But one key thing I noticed is that number one is that it's very comparable with a fresh grad pay, right? Or sometimes even more than the general fresh grad pay. Where people come out with a degree. I think one of the big reasons why is this, right? When this is based on the feedback that I get from employers as well as some students, is that sometimes you are asked to be together with work together with people from universities with degrees and so on. There is nothing wrong with having a degree. I think that's perfectly fine. But one thing is the differences in skills. For example, the bootcamp grads, their focus is really on practical skills, right? They can build stuff. They can actually build an app from scratch. They can launch it, and the app can run, right? But very often I see a lot of uni grads is that there is a lot of theoretical theory, but then they don't actually have a lot of practical skill sets, which is why a lot of employers do come to us to look for people to hire, purely because they have the ability to implement and build things straight away. So I think that's what I'll conclude over there. Okay, so for the next question would be by Ian Evan. Ian Evan asks, how to change a career from normal worker to coder? What should I do? Okay, so I think there is a lot of people who are asking about career change, right? And yes, I think in the media, a lot of people are saying like, you need to future-proof yourself and so on and so forth. Yes, I understand that. So I think if you are saying about, do I need to future-proof myself? Yes, I think you do actually, you could actually start thinking about it. But one key thing is this, right? It really depends if coding is something that you're interested in. I think that is a very important question to answer. Coding is very different from a lot of things in this way, where, for example, some things you just need a professional paper. You take it and then you're like, hey, I got this professional paper, and people will just say, okay, you know what, I'll bring you on board. But coding is very different. Coding, you actually need to hone your skills, right? Coding is very simple. You either could do it or you couldn't do it. So for you, when you say as a normal worker, I think the first question you should ask yourself, I think the first question is this: could you foresee yourself doing coding for the rest of your life, right? If this is the career path that you want to take. And I think you need to find that out, because a lot of us love the flowery idea of coding, right? Because they love the idea of like, wow, tech is amazing. I want to build that $1 million tech idea. But believe it or not everyone is willing to put in the effort to learn how to code, right? So I think for Ian, for you, first thing first, you need to know is, do you love coding in the first place? Can you see yourself using coding in your day-to-day in the first place, right? If you can, then yes, you know what, you can transition yourself from a normal worker to a coder. And for me, I think we actually have quite a number of students who ask us this. And for students who ask us this question, like, I don't even know if I really like coding or not, but I think it's a very important thing. So instead of asking them to go through the 10 weeks course that covers websites and building apps, I would actually ask them to start off with, learning how to build websites first, which is the coding fundamentals. The coding fundamentals is enough for you to know if, learning to code is something that you want to do, right? If you are going to be committed and dedicated to it. And during the coding fundamentals, you are also expected to write algorithms and so on. So over there, you have a good taste of how is it like when you transition to building apps, because you definitely need that. So for Ian, I would suggest this, give us a call, right? And we can talk to you about this. Really I think what we need to do is to understand a lot more about you, to understand what is your goals in life, and to also understand, right, if this is something that you really want to do, right? And if you want to try out, there is always the 2 weeks coding fundamental course, or you can try out the part-time 10 weeks course as well. And from there, if you really like to code, then you can progress on to the second and the third part of the course. Yeah. So, okay. So next question would be by It's Me, Mohammed. Okay, hi, Mohammed. And his question is, I am a foreign student in Malaysia. How can I get a career in Malaysia through coding? So, two things, right? Let's just talk about the coding bit. A lot of people are looking for people who can code, right? So the first thing first is you need to have the ability to code, right? Basically being able to build stuff, basically having your portfolio and showing people that, hey, these are the things that I can do, these are the things that I can build, right? If you are able to do that, a lot of doors will be open for you. Now, the second part is this. As a foreigner, you need to look for companies with MSc status. Only companies with MSc status are able to hire foreigners. And keep in mind, right? So the big question for you is this. If the company have an MSc status, yes, they are able to hire foreigners. But the next big question is, why would they want to hire you, right? So you really need to learn how to set yourself apart, because for an MSc, company to hire a foreigner, they actually do need to pay. They actually do need to pay money to create your visa and so on. So you need to make sure that you are better than the normal graduates that are around you, right? You need to make sure that you stand out, so that this company has a reason to hire you, right? Instead of just another Malaysian fresh grad, because that's the truth, right? If the Malaysian fresh grad and you have comparable skills, in the end, what happens? In the end, I would not want the hassle of, making visa and so on. I would just look for a Malaysian to actually come on board to the team. So these are some of the key things you need to know. As I said, coding opens a lot of doors for you, but you need to think about the employer's perspective as well. So, okay, next question. So Ron Vitico asks, how many different types of coding careers are there? Wow, there's a lot of coding, different types of coding careers. So I think this is a very, very broad question, because when you say coding careers, what jobs need you to code, right? So these are some of the things you think about. So for example, the really, the hardcore coding one will be people who build apps. There are people who build websites, right? Build and maintain websites. There are people who maintain systems. They don't actually really, build apps or what, but they maintain systems. There are people there are also roles that, like, for example, product management, that don't require you to, code a lot, but requires you to understand code, so that you can be able to communicate so that you'll be able to communicate with your coder and your designer and the entire team. Beyond that, right, project management as well, that falls in the same category. Beyond that, right, there are also IT consultants. So IT consultants, they may not need to really code day to day, right? But they need to know enough of IT to be able to provide consulting services, right? So and business analysts, data analysts, we have companies looking for us, looking for people who can code, and with a business background. One of the reasons why they realize is that these people, have the best of both worlds. So data analysts, business analysts, that's one thing as well. Of course, there are some people who want to venture into, say, data science. Data science, you need to understand some level of coding, right? You need to know know some level of coding to be able to execute those things. People who want to go into machine learning, for example, that's one of them as well. So keep that in mind. There are a lot of roles that requires certain level of coding. It depends the depth, but there are a lot of roles that requires coding. And I foresee that there will be more and more roles that require some level of coding, because what is happening is that, like for example, there are people who are bankers, and banks are looking for coders who can code to become bankers. For example, these roles are becoming, merging into one. So it's very interesting to see the dynamics right now, because people are beginning to not see coding as a standalone thing, right? Just to give you an example, so we have a student. He actually became an accountant after he learned to code. And when he was in the accounting firm, he was asked to do data entry alongside a group of people. And it was supposed to be a 5-week project, and they needed to go through about 40,000 reports, right? Manually going through about 40,000 reports. So what he did was that he actually went back home and built an app, and took about 1 week. And he actually pitched it to his manager and I think the partner as well. And they say, okay, give it a try. And 1 week later, he actually ran the 40,000 reports through his system. And within the next 10 minutes, the report, everything is out, right? All the data is out. So I think this is very interesting for me, because now you see that, hey, even this guy who is an accountant who can code is building solutions for his company in a way that none of them have ever done it before. So I start to see this sort of what is it called? This sort of cooperation between different worlds. So I think from here I will say this. There is a lot of opportunities, but wherever you're from, some people who are from medicine, some people who are from law, some people who are from, engineering, oil and gas, whatever background you're from, you don't need to throw it away. You don't need to throw it out of the window. In fact, the best way is to take your knowledge that you have over there and merge it together with the power to code and see what you can create. And that is really, that is value adding, and you can see how you have the opportunity to disrupt the industry that you were once in. So yeah. Okay, so next question. Christopher Australia asked, which JavaScript framework should I focus on to build my coding career? This is also quite interesting. One key thing is this, right? A lot of people are very much focused on, frameworks. But you must always remember that in coding, it goes like this. You start off with the fundamentals, right? And then let's just say you learn a language. Let's just say you learn JavaScript, right? Then you can start exploring the libraries that JavaScript have, right? So for example, let's just use Python as an example. These days, because everyone talk about Python. So you want to learn Python, right? And then you said, hey, I would love to, run through some data and so on, right? I want to go through some finance-related data. Then you need to use Python's libraries, right? So, Python has a lot of finance libraries, so that it allows you to run all your, SMA, MMA, EMA, everything lah. And then the next thing is frameworks. frameworks are what we call like kind of like a blueprint of sorts. So there is different level, and everything all starts off with Python, right? So basically for frameworks, people put a bunch of code together to make your life easier. So instead of writing everything from scratch, now you just need to, use this framework and build on it, right? You no longer need to write it from scratch. It's kind of like a shortcut. So this guy asked, which JavaScript framework should I focus on to build my coding career? First thing first, right? Frameworks can change. Things that are very, very, popular today, give it a few more years, it might be out of the window, right? These things happen. So number one is make sure that, your fundamentals are very strong. Whatever language you are doing, JavaScript, Python, Ruby, make sure that your fundamentals are very, very strong, right? You want to be able to adapt to different frameworks when time changes. You do not want to be called a framework developer and then when the framework is gone and you can't do shit, right? You don't want to do that, right? So that is the last thing you want. So, and then for JavaScript as well, I think you also need to think in terms of front end and back end. So, I mean, the look and feel of the website, right? Everything you see and what is happening behind the scenes is two different things. So there is JavaScript framework for the front end, the look and feel of the website, and there is also JavaScript framework for the back end, which is, the brains, I always call it the brains of the web app. So there are two very different things. Explore frameworks, give them a try, right? But whatever it is, you should be able to actually make sure your fundamentals are strong. Right now, for front-end frameworks, people talk about React, React.js, Vue.js. At Next Academy, we teach React, React.js. So that is one very interesting framework you can look into. And it's popular because after you learn React.js, you would be able to self-learn React Native. And with React Native, you would be able to build hybrid apps. For example, with React Native, you can build apps for iPhones as well as for Androids. So that's why React is very popular. So in terms of that, I think React.js is definitely something you should look into because of its versatility. Definitely build that, and a lot of people are asking for it. For backend frameworks, it is very, very fragmented. The backend world is very fragmented. So for me, backend is you need to learn to be adaptable. But for front end, I think React is something that you can look into. So yep, so if you are interested in the React class, you need to make sure that you are very good with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, very good JavaScript. Then you can join our 2 weeks React class, or you can join us part-time for 10 weeks as well. So yeah, I hope that answered your question. Okay, so let's see what else. Rachel Law asks here, would like to know how extensive the coding knowledge should be if I want to pursue a data science related job. Let me just repeat that question. If I want to be a data scientist, right, to what extent do I need to learn to code? So this is also a question that a lot of people ask me, right? When you're learning to code is, okay, learning to code means, being able to talk to your computer. That's about it. Nothing fancy, nothing much, nothing special. Learning to code means being able to talk to your computer in the way the computer understands. So that's that, right? So one key thing is that if you're going to ask the computer to do things, for example, you want to do data science, you need to be able to obviously know how to code. And data science, I think one of the key languages right now would be Python. So you need to learn how to use Python, right? And learn how to write, at least certain level of writing script. Scripting is very important. Writing algorithms is very important. But you also need to understand how to use Python's libraries, right? So for example, if you want to do data science, you need to know how to use Python's data science, data related libraries, so that you can be able to parse through all this huge amount of data and make sense of those data. So these are two core things you need to do. Know Python and know how to use Python libraries, right? In terms of coding wise. But on top of that, to get into data science, you need to understand what data science is about as well. And with that includes statistics. I think statistics is really important, and you should understand what is it about. I've known some people who, don't know much about, statistics and wanting to jump into data science. I mean, yes, you can get certain things to, get you can kind of, use all these tools to kind of like manipulate your numbers, your data. But for me, is that if you really want to be able to generate good insights for data science, you need to at least understand statistics models. I mean, that is the expectation that I would have if I were to actually hire a data scientist, right? So I think those are the key things. Rachel, I hope that answers your question. So I mean, at Next Academy, we also have a Python course, but our Python course does a few things. You learn how to build you learn how to code in Python. You also learn how to do utilize libraries, but our focus is more on building apps, right? But these skills are transferable, meaning that the moment you learn how to, use Python as well as use the libraries, then you would be able to self-learn how to use libraries for data science. But by the end of the day, learning the discipline of data science, like learning the statistics, learning how to look at data, gain insights, that one itself is a discipline by itself, right? And you cannot just say, I know the code and suddenly can do data science. No, these are two completely different things. Okay. Now the next one, very interesting. Muhammad Arif asked, am I too old at 40 years old to start a coding career? Right, first thing first, I think it is never too late to learn to code, right? Whatever age you can be, you can learn to code, it's no problem. Now, the second question that you have is a coding career. So I think at the age of 40, if you were to start a coding career, you need to, you need to be realistic about it, meaning you won't need to start from zero. You need to start from scratch, right? People are going to be hiring other kids or, young people at the age of 21, 22 to code. How is it like going to be for you and them, right? So I think you need to think about it from the employer's perspective. If the employer is willing to, say, hey, I'm cool with that, that's totally no problem. But if I think it highly depends on the employer itself. So, and also depends on you, how is it like, if you would very likely need to start from scratch, that's one. And you're going to be working together with people who are in their 20s, who just came out from uni, college, or even high school, for example. So those are the questions that you need to ask yourself. Is it something that you're looking forward to? But all in all, learning to code, I have people who learn to code because, right, they want to know how the world works, because they want to understand technology better. So yes, if you want to learn to code, any age is possible. But if you want a coding career, you need to understand if the company is open to the idea of hiring someone very fresh, but at the age of 40, right? That is something that we need to think about. Okay, and I actually have one more question. Oh, actually two. There's one person by the name of Karti. Karti asked how to create an effective career plan with coding. First thing first, you must always understand that when you first start off learning how to code, obviously everyone needs to start somewhere. But when you build yourself, meaning that you build yourself, when I say build yourself, meaning that you make sure that you're up to date with technology. You make sure that you don't just stay comfortable with your job, right? You continue building more apps, building more things, right? Showcasing your work, showcasing your portfolio. You'd be amazed with the amount of attention that you'll get. Here is an example. So one of our ex-students, alumni, he actually didn't even go into uni, if I'm not mistaken. He was a salesperson. He did insurance sales, and after insurance, he did real estate sales. Then he didn't really, I don't know if he likes it or not. He's like, okay, it's fine. I need to pay bills. Then he learned to code. He came to learn to code. And what happens is that he fell in love with coding. he really loved it. And when he really loved it, he really literally go all out to it. And after that, he started joining events, right? He gave talks. In a very short span of time, he gave talks. He shared about the things that he had learned. He joined, projects, open source projects. He write about his opinions on certain technology, on certain way of coding. And one day, not too long ago, I saw a very interesting post. He had 2 or 3 offers every single day. I'm not talking about a week. 2 or 3 offers every single day, right? He gets up to 70 over offers a month. Just, people go like, you know what, I saw the work that you have done. Why don't you, come on board and join us? And he has only graduated about a year or probably less. So, but one thing I would say is that for him, he really pursued it, right? He really put in the effort and he really defined himself as, I want to do this. And he didn't go, people just didn't show him the chance. Not like, what I'm trying to say here is that he actually created these opportunities for himself, right? He opened the doors for himself. It's not just something where suddenly you cannot expect just because you learn a skill and then suddenly everything will fall to you. No, it's not just like that. He literally put himself out there to make sure that he gets discovered, right? And he makes sure that his skills are good and he honed himself, and then all these opportunities start coming to him, right? He actually pursued this. He actually put in effort to make sure things work for him. And if you want to be in the same place like him, you need to know the effort and the commitment that he's willing to put in. So in essence, you want to create an effective career plan. You want to be, I would just say that, in the line of coding, when you can code and when you're good at coding, opportunities will come to you. It is that simple. Coding is that simple. You either can build stuff or you cannot build stuff, right? You're either good at it or you're not good at it. It's as simple as that. Okay, and we have one more question by Deep Sharma. What are some of the inspiring success stories in a coding career? Wow, I love sharing student stories, right? And I'm going to throw out a few very interesting stories. So I was just talking to this one student. He actually joined, I think he graduated around 2 years ago. He actually joined us, joined us to learn how to build apps, right? And after high school, he didn't even go to college. He didn't even go to university. But today, right? Today he's actually a software engineer at Grab. So people can say, hey, what's the big deal, right? But you must understand this as Grab, I think he was with Grab, since Singapore days, and Grab are always looking for talent, right? Their benchmark is very high. They're always looking for, so can you imagine that he is going to be fighting against people with, degrees, right? People with college degrees, people who come up from all sorts of, universities, NTU, NUS, coming back from the UK, coming back from the US. I'm talking about people with, degrees, right? And from pretty prestigious universities as well. And he has no college degree and no university degree, right? None of those things. And he is at Grab. I think for me, when I look at that, when I hear that, right, it really tells me how much effort he put in and how he really changed his life by learning how to code. So I think that's one very inspiring story for me. The second story would be this really dear friend of mine. I mean, I met him through the bootcamp as well. He was a waiter and he was an Uber driver back in, I think, the UK. And after that, he learned to code, and today he is with AirAsia. He's a coder at AirAsia, and he loved it because, right, he gets to code, and he even gets to fly and travel around wherever AirAsia brings him to. So really, literally, everyone can fly, and he's flying every day. What other stories? I think quite a number of our grads actually started their own startups. For example, we have a grad. She was she was a pharmacist before that, and she has always had this passion in the medicine field. And she was always asking, like, how can I use coding impact, the medicine field. And today she's a co-founder of a startup called Advanced Health, ADVANX Health. So she learned to code with us to learn how to build apps, basically the entire program. And today, she is using coding, and basically Advanced Health, what it does is that it is there to understand your DNA better. And she's using her ability to code to build a startup for herself. So I think, and in fact, her co-founder, her other founder was also a Next Academy graduate, and they actually met here. So that's definitely very exciting. In fact, there's a few more stories like this. One of our, I think this is, I'll just share one more story because I shared a few, right? One of our students actually spent up to about 200K, outsourcing his app for 2 years back in those days. And believe it or not, after 2 years and 200K, the app couldn't get past the login page. And how insane is that, right? And that's when he decided that he wants to learn to code himself. And he's like, you know what? If I can spend 200K for people to code it out for me and things didn't work, why don't I learn how to code myself and build it up myself? And that is what happened. And today, if you guys are interested and you want to check out the app, check out what he's doing. So you guys could go check out WOWZ, WOWWWZ. You go check it out, WOWWWZ. So he actually built it up himself. But of course, back in those days, he burned $200,000. It's crazy, it's insane. So I think these are some of the very interesting stories I get. And I think for you guys, understand this. I know that learning to code is for your career, right? But I would say that learning to code is about creating things as well. It's about innovating things as well. And you don't need to stop. You don't need to stop just that, I just need to, future-proof myself. Don't stop that, right? You have the ability, the moment you learn to code, you have the ability to create and to define how things are like. You have the ability to actually disrupt the industry that you're in, the company that you're in, right? You have that ability. So I'll say is that, well, if you want to learn to code and you want to actually disrupt the environment around you, if you want to be able to create things, right? And you want to be able to, I guess, do very interesting stuff, merge the knowledge that you had from your previous industry with the knowledge of coding, come and join us. We have part-time, we have full-time classes, right? Going from learning how to build websites to React to learning how to build apps. I think the only thing is this, right? When you're going to come and join us, make sure that you are serious about it, make sure that you are committed, and make sure that you're willing to put in the effort. If you're willing to do all these things, I'm sure we'll be able to get you to where you want to be. And I think that's pretty much it. So if you want to join us for the full-time class, it's happening next week. In July, it's happening next week, coming up soon. The part-time one, you can join. Just give us a call. The part-time one, we can tell you, you can join anytime. If you start today, in 10 weeks' time, you'll be able to build a website. If you start today, in 40 weeks' time, you'll be able to build a web app, right? Definitely, would love to see you with us, and I would want to hear inspiring and interesting stories that, you guys are going to have yourself. So, yeah, that's about it. And it's nice to have all of you guys with us. Thank you so much, guys. Okay, bye.